Hello and welcome to 9 Quick Ways to Instantly Improve Your Web Copy. I'm just getting set up. I just had a little bit of technical issues getting this sorted, but hopefully we're good to go now. If you are watching this live and you want to join the chat, just type a message and I'll receive it if you've got any questions or anything else. I'm just going to quickly check the different channels, make sure that that this is broadcasting okay. Perfect, Sapna. Brilliant. Thank you. Great to see you. Just making sure I've got everything in place. Wonderful, wonderful. Hi, Ajay. Hope you are well. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, cool. Everything looks to be pretty good. Wonderful. Okay, so the whole reason for doing this workshop is one of the things I've found over a long period of time is that web copy is an area where people have the most amount of concern. No one's ever happy with their website. I mean, are you happy with your website? Are you completely 100% happy with the copy on it, the way it represents you, or is it one of those ongoing issues that it's always one of those things where you see other people's websites, you go, oh, their website's so much better than mine. It seems to read better, it seems to be much better, yet it's you're constantly trying to tweak and change your website. The thing is, most people have websites that don't actually work for them in the sense that they generate leads and sales. And so the purpose of this, I mean, if we go down to what the purpose of actually having a website is in the first place, it's there to sell you. It's there to actually deliver you leads, deliver you inquiries, position you, do lots of different things. But ultimately, it has to work. It has to do something. And if it doesn't do that, then the focus of anything that you do with your website, more than design, more than changing copy for the sake of it, more than adding video or anything else like that, the thing to focus on is what will improve conversions, what will actually generate leads, inquiries, sales, eyeballs on that. And there are a number of things that I've identified, having critiqued over like 250 websites since I've been a copywriter, and there are some common themes that we kind of have to focus on. So let's get started. So first of all, does this sound like you? Do you have a website that took ages to build, and then when it's eventually launched, nothing happens? It's the most disappointing thing you can imagine, especially as it's taken far longer than you ever expected. Or you may have a website that's not been updated, and actually it no longer reflects your business or where you are today or the clients you've got or anything else. But because it hasn't been like topped up with and changed on a regular basis, it kind of feels a little bit distant, and you're kind of surprised when you speak to customers, you speak to clients, you speak to prospects, and they don't know that you could do something because it's not on your website, even though you've been doing it for a while. So this is massively common. Or you may be about to rebuild your website and you've got no idea what to focus on when it comes to copy. You've no idea what to write about, no idea really to kind of where to start. This is going to help you. So just to give you an idea of what I'm going to do on this call, I'm going to help you identify the main challenges that render most websites incapable of generating leads and inquiries. There are certain like big problems that every website has that doesn't generate leads. And simple ways to fix each of those issues. What is it? Now we've got the problem, what is it that we need to do to fix it? And actually, these fixes aren't difficult. They really are. I'm not going to, this is not a workshop that's about, design issues or change in SEO and things like that. Those are all kind of separate things. What this is focused on is what copy elements can you change that will make a difference, and they really can make a difference as well. And I'll give you some examples of how to do it well, and they're going to be good examples because they're examples of stuff that I've done. So it's kind of a little bit circular, but I want to give you an example of how these have been deployed with various brands, with various businesses, and the effect that it's had on them as well. So If you don't know who I am Jody Raynsford. I'm CEO of Hello Genius. I am a brand marketing strategist. I trained as a direct response copywriter, but before that I was a journalist for all of my sins. And I've worked on various 6 and 7 figure launches and promotions, and then started Hello Genius agency. And so conversions and the ability for copy to make sales is ingrained in the way that I think, and it's ingrained in the way that the agency works. I'm also the author of a book called How to Start a Cult, but that's a completely different story. In terms of understanding who Hello Genius are, so Hello Genius, we're a digital content agency. We specialize in copywriting, video and content strategy. Our focus, in terms of what we do, is very much on bold, creative, personality-led humor. We write lots of emails, we write lots of websites, we write lots of copy, and so we're constantly testing what it is that we're writing. We've got a constant feedback loop of what works and what doesn't, and what converts and what doesn't, and it also gives opportunities for us to really understand what people need to do in order to improve their copy as well. Great. Okay, so let's move on. So what we're going to do is, instead of going through and me telling you what each of the things that you need to do, let's focus on the problems, because that's probably going to be the best way to help understand what's wrong with your website. You'll see it from the perspective of a problem, and then we can kind of flip it and see, right, how do we fix that problem? Probably the easiest way of doing it. If you've got any questions along the way, please feel free to drop them in. I can answer those as we're going, or you can save it until the end and we can have a little chat about it then. Let's start. So here are the 9 common web copy problems that cause people not to convert as much, businesses not to convert as much as they hope. So let's go. So the first one, not keeping attention. So when you first land on a website, what is the first thing that you see? You make a split-second judgment about this, but for some reason everyone kind of forgets this. Everyone forgets about what they do when they're browsing, or what they do when they first look at something, when they look at an email, when they look at any piece of copy. How does it make you feel? What is the first thing that you see? And too many websites forget about this. Too many businesses, when they have the website, they just don't engage from the start. What they'll do is they'll have a logo at the top or something, or they'll talk too much about their company. And the big thing that they don't focus on is, how does this look on mobile? How does this read on mobile? The amount of people who are accessing websites now on mobile is crazy. I mean, there are technical things that you can do in order to improve conversions. Things like having a clickable phone number that's at the top of it. These are all kind of technical things that that should be embedded. But if from a purely messaging perspective, from web copy, what are you doing to keep attention? What are you doing to grab someone's attention? That above the fold section of a website is incredibly valuable. You have just literally microseconds to engage someone, and the thing that they don't want to engage in is pretty much you talking about your business. It has to be something that relates to them. So how do we fix this? How do we fix this? We agitate or we inspire. So we need to make someone feel something. That's the important thing. It's not necessarily about gaining information. We want someone, when they first land on the website, when they first see something of ours, especially it's the first time they've seen it, we need to make it about them. We need to get them, and it's feeling something. The emotion is the important part here. So, and the way to think about it is like, what is their biggest challenge? What is it that they need? What are they grappling with at the moment? What can you say that speaks directly to that reader and to that status of the reader to make them feel, oh, you get me, or this is worth reading, or you've caught me? And agitating or inspiring is the way to do that. I'm going to give an example in a minute of a website that does this, the copy on the website that does this, and this is kind of how to do it. So that's one part of it. That's the element of engaging them at the first thing, capturing with a headline essentially. And it's the same thing with all types of copy. The headline's the most important. What are you doing right at the top of the website to get them to feel something? The second thing is the thing that people think they should do first, but some people don't do at all. And let me explain that. So poor positioning. Websites do a really poor job of explaining what the company actually does or who they help. Or it goes completely other way about talking too much about outcomes or benefits or trying to explain what they do in a really flowery, clever way. And then people don't actually know what they're talking about. I'm sure that you have been to a networking event, and I'm sure this is an example thing. You've been to a networking event and you tried to speak to someone and you've asked them what they do, and they say, "Oh, I delight customers and enthuse them," and you're like, "Right, that's really nice, but what do you actually do?" And then when you get down to it, you find out they're a printer. And so, they do printing services and they help these type of people and stuff like that. Yeah, that bigger picture stuff is great in certain circumstances. In this circumstance, it's not. What we need to do is we need to make it really clear to the reader where they are and who they're talking to and who they're looking at very, very quickly. Again, split second. And the way that we do this is just a simple, compelling explainer. And the way I like to think about it is this: when you walk into a room and you don't know what to expect or what's there, and you have an expectation. Think back to when you were at school and you were going to lessons, classes for the first time, and you walked into a classroom full of people you didn't know, and you wanted very quickly to find out, am I in the maths room? Is this the maths room? And so you'll look around and you'll see, that there's calculations on the wall, and there's numbers, and there's an angry maths teacher standing there because you're 2 minutes late trying to do some calculation. Like, I'm in the maths room. I'm in the maths classroom. I understand where I am. People need to feel they're in the right place. People need to feel that security that this is the issue that I'm looking for. I'm looking for help with this. Can you help me? Yes. Now I'm going to read on. So, and the way that this works is that it's normally a combination of making them feel something with that kind of top line header, and then an explainer underneath. And this can be done in lots of different ways. But the fundamental things that you have to make sure is: who are you? Who do you help? And how do you help? These things are the critical things that need to be spoken about on the website very, 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 very quickly. So let me give you an example. So the example I'm going to give you here is from a company called Remote. And what we do here is we've got they're a digital product studio. They help develop applications, online applications, web apps, different things like that. And their target audience are people who are entrepreneurs, who are kind of visionary thinking, things like that. And so, when we look at other like product studios and things like that, it always talks about, we use our lean process, or, we help you build a digital product. And that's okay. At least it's doing a little bit of the work of kind of explaining what you do. But as you can see with this, it's different. What we're doing is with that kind of grab a headline, we're saying your idea asks you, let's build something incredible. You're engaging in emotion. You're making someone who wants to create something feel special and different, and it's enhancing their status. And then very quickly segging into a way of positioning with Digital Product Studio, designing and building high quality online apps to automate your business and transform your industry. So you can see that is like the perfect way for it to be done. Make sure that you grab them with emotion, but position yourself very, very clearly. There seems to be a mismatch and imbalance between people, going one way or the other, talking all about the outcomes, or talking too much about themselves. The combination of the two is, sweet spot. Let's move on to the next one. So, a weak about page. Now, this is so common, it is horrendous. Your about page is most likely, and if you check your analytics on this, is most likely the second most popular page on your website. It surprises people when they hear the statistic, but it certainly is across all of our websites and for a lot of the websites that we deal with for clients as well. And the problem is that people read the about page because they kind of just want to know who's behind it. They're kind of a bit nosy, want to find out who's behind it. People engage with people. And so your about page is an incredible opportunity for you, is a credible opportunity to show them what you can do and how you can help them and deepen that relationship. The difficulty is that few understand how to write a great about page, and they completely make it about themselves. I mean, it's a little bit misleading. It's called about, but But really, what you want to be focusing on is you want to be focusing on your reader. What does your reader actually need to know about you? What is useful for them to know? I've seen about pages where, there's been more copy than the rest of the website, talking about, where they started in school, where they went to university, the 12 different jobs they had, the paper round, how many dogs they got, the fact that they support this team, they like walks. That's all really lovely, really, really lovely information. And I'm sure, that someone will absolutely love that. And, we're constantly told, oh, you want to build a connection with people, you build a story. People like to know about people. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And there is a place for that. There's a place for that when you're trying to develop and nurture that relationship. But at this stage, when someone first lands on your website, has looked at your homepage and then looking at your about page, they are not in an information gathering frame of mind about you. They're in information gathering about their problems. And so that is what needs to be reflected on the about page. And so using the about page really effectively means actually making it about the reader. You can, a really good about page leads with their problems. You lead, and it could be something as simple as, sound like you, and listing how they feel and listing particular situations, or is this you? And it might be the different types of people that you're talking to. And then what you can do is you can seg that into your story and use your story on the about page, whether it's the story of you or the story of your business, only to the extent that it helps them understand how it relates to their problems and their challenges. So if you're trying to position yourself as a business coach, for example, an about page that maybe focuses right at the start on, struggling to grow your business, struggling to make the revenue you need. Are you, working more hours than you think? And then that's when you use your story. After you've done it, I was in the same position and I realized that, something needed to change. And that's why I decided to formulate a system and take a break from this and train as this. And then I did this. And now I help all these people. So you're using your story in order to build empathy and in order to build credibility, but you're not kind of going over the top and telling them loads of information that they don't need. They just want to know, they're thinking, what's in it for me? They just want to know about you to the extent that you can help them. And that is the extent of what you should be covering on your about page. Other ways of doing this is, actually showing them things which are focused on them. So showing them, maybe your approach, showing them how you can help them. But it's this, about pages are a really good opportunity to convert, a really good opportunity to get someone to understand who you are and what you do. But it's not the place for you to kind of basically list your biography. If you bore them, if you absolutely bore them, you're going to they're going to switch off. Ali, you are absolutely spot on there. Let me just highlight this: character replacement signature story, not an origin story. Yes, they need to see you in the themselves. You need to see how you have transformed yourself, and that is helpful to them, so they know how it can help with this. You need to give them your story gives them context. You've shown them where you were in place A and now you're in place B. They're still in place A, and so you're demonstrating to them through credibility, through story, how you helped to get to place B and how you can help them too. That's great. So let me show you another example then of an about us page that I really like. So this is a company called Tiger Global. Again, full disclosure, this is a client, but we didn't write their web copy, but have worked with them. And the thing that I really like about what they've done on their about us page is, again, not gone too heavy on like, this is who we are, this is what we've done, stuff like that, but focused on their values. And the way that the values are drafted are very much focused on, even though that they are internal values, they're very much focused on the needs of the audience. And so it's another really good way of building a connection, focusing on what matters. So the particular thing about Tiger Global is that they're a promotional company, promotional products company, but they work in a sector that's very shall we say, there's a lot of disposable items. It's not particularly eco-friendly, and they're going against that. They're a counterpoint to what you see, this kind of landfill thing. They've got some brilliant kind of concepts on their brand your landfill and other things like that. But their values are really important to them, and their values would be really important to that reader as well, because the kind of buyer who would be using an interest in Global wants to see, do our values align? Is this different from everything else? And actually having those values and the way that they are drafted as being very, even though they're about us, they're very focused on the customer, very focused on the buyer, builds a connection that a lot of other about pages wouldn't. I imagine that if you go and have a look at a lot of promotional products companies and suppliers, they will talk about different warehouses they've moved to and things like that, which there's zero connection there. This is building something, and again, it's emotional. It's that emotional connection that's really important. So these are kind of quite big ones, but let's move on to the next one, and this is kind of ties into it as well. So if there's one thing that copy on websites don't do, is probably not focus enough on readers' challenges. And so, of course, your reader's in some kind of pain. They have some kind of need. And too many websites, they kind of know we've got to do benefits. We know, we need to stay away from features. So it's all about benefits. It's all about kind of outcomes. But actually, one of the things is that it's important to show understanding and empathy with your reader, and show them that you understand the problem that they're going through, because empathy is the first, the first place to go before they move on to thinking about the challenge itself. And so having that understanding that what they're going through is really important, and demonstrating that through the copy. If you're not addressing that, they will switch off. They absolutely will switch off, and that's when you don't convert. That's when you don't get inquiries. That's when they don't feel a connection with you, and connection is really important now. So the obvious fix for this is to simply bring their challenges onto the page. Go deep on how they're feeling, what they're facing. Make it a key part of your homepage. Definitely. One of the things said there about the kind of the hero section, the above the fold homepage section, is that that may be focused on a challenge that they're facing, but again, it's feeling that emotion. The more that you articulate the issues, the better they'll have a connection with you. The better they have a connection, it's the more likely that they'll take action. If you can engage someone emotionally, you are far and above more likely to get someone either coming back to the website, someone thinking about your brand in a certain way, thinking about it, in all the different ways. Websites don't sit alone anymore. We have social media, we have all these other different ways of connecting with people. And so it's important that every time that someone experiences your brand, they have, you control the emotion that they feel, you make them feel something. And so next time they see it, they associate it with you. That's really important to do that, both in copy, in the visual elements as well, when it complements the copy on the page. And so, a good example of this is with a company we again, another one we work with, Social for Good. And what I really like here was the bringing specific language into, and specific things that people were saying, and specific feedback from potential buyers into this, and Social for Good are a social media agency, social media execution and management and training as well, and they work with a certain niche of charity and third sector. And so, they're asking the question, they're not just going off on these huge things about talking about outcomes, like we make social easy, or, leave it to us and we make social, simple, or anything else like that. They're engaging those readers by asking, when did social get so complex? All of the questions that audience is asking, and also acknowledging the fact that it didn't used to be that way as well. That there is confusion. So it's meeting where your reader is, acknowledging those points, and when you do that, it helps them get beyond that. So the empathy thing is really important. Okay, so I'm motoring through these now. So number 5, actually, at this point, has anyone got any questions? Anyone got any questions about anything so far? or any comments so far? Anything resonated with you at all that you think, my website doesn't do that, or I'm absolutely delighted my website really does do that? Tap them in when you've got them, and I'll push on. I'll read them as we go. So number 5, wasting traffic. So your website will have traffic coming to it. There'll be people come to your website, and that may be through people find that through search. It may be people through getting there through social, through email, or however people are getting there. And a huge proportion of those people will visit your website and leave. Within a couple of seconds. If it's a good website, you'll take a few minutes there, maybe read a few things, and enjoying it. And the thing is that not everyone is a buyer. Not everyone who lands on your page is ready to buy now. But when I've critiqued so many websites, everything seems to be set up for getting started now, making a phone call, booking an appointment, doing this, as though they are ready to do it. And there are no other options. The only way that you can, or you can inquire, send a message, and we'll kind of get back to you. The only way that you can interact with the website is if you're ready to make a decision. As we know from the buying journey, there is a huge portion of time where knowledge, and you're searching for stuff, and you're asking for opinions, and you're trying to clarify your thinking. A huge amount of time that is taken up before you ever get to a point where you think, I'm going to inquire, or I'm going to ask a question, or I'm going to book an appointment, or I'm going to book a meeting with this person. People at different stages of the buying journey, when they come to your website, and the question is to think, what do you have on your website? What content do you have, and what options do you have to capture those leads, those names, those addresses, so that you can continue marketing to them in a different way? So, what is it that people need before deciding to buy? What is it that they need to know? Are you meeting what we call the informational needs of your audience? How can you help clarify their thinking and help them move closer to purchase? So if someone visits and leaves without purchasing them as interest, you've lost them. And you haven't connected them. So the way to do this is almost like a kind of a two-pronged approach. So you want to create content that focuses on all users. Think about what is the journey that they're going through. Are they just browsing? Do they want to buy but they're not ready yet? Are they still don't know what the different options are that are in front of them, and they're just they've just come to your website because they're kind of looking at trying to understand a little bit more about what the key issues are. If they're not ready to buy, you need to come up with some different ways to get them to leave their details. If you do that, it allows you to follow up. It stops wasting traffic, and it also allows you to create a whole slew of content. You can create content upgrades. You can create ebooks. You can maybe calculators, getting them to download a course, getting them to download some kind of guide that helps clarify their thinking. All these different ways that you can get them to download something or leave their details, so that you can still take advantage of the fact that they have gone on your website and you are not, and they're not ready to buy yet. Of course, you do need a full follow-up in place, but at least once you've captured their email, you can start building that relationship. Now, this is an unpopular one. Pop-ups really do work. I mean, no one likes pop-ups. No one likes pop-ups at all, but they do work. They do work. There's lots of different software doing it. And the copy element here, I mean, this is a technical element about pop-ups and opt-ins and things like that. The key element here is, if you do have pop-ups, just fill them with personality, make them funny, make them engaging, make them add some real benefit. If someone's gonna, if you're gonna ask someone for their email address, make sure that you're giving them something. Make sure that you're giving them an opportunity, giving them something of real value. Long gone are the days where you could put a PDF with 7 best things about choosing a mechanic for your so 7 questions you need to ask to work with the mechanic, or something like that. those days are long gone where people will leave their email address for that. They expect to find that information. But if you're giving something that's a real tool, something of real value, people are happy to leave their email address, and they're happy to follow up because they're wanting to get more information, and you're doing that for your audience. So in terms of pop-ups can be great. And so I want to just give you an example. This, again, a little bit biased here because this is from my podcast community, and specifically from our retail store. And so we have a pop-up on there, and of course we try to make it funny. We try to harness the power of comedy as per the In-Betweeners in order to get people to sign up, and it works very effectively. And so you just use a little bit of humor to make those things a little bit more acceptable to people. Like I said, everyone says they don't like pop-ups, but they do work really well. And if you've got lots of opportunity, make sure that you get people to opt in on your website. Okay, so these are other ones that can be fixed relatively easy as we kind of go through this. So number 6, a lack of believability. So if there's one thing that I think is true of website copy, also sales pages, anytime anyone launches campaigns or offers, simply not enough proof to support claims. The bigger the claims, the more proof you need. Even relatively small claims now, the level of mistrust and online, and the fact that people don't believe things that they're told, even video testimonials and stuff, means you have to work really hard. You have to work hard. So if you're making big promises and you're making claims, having detailed, specific testimonials. The lack of testimonials, case studies, and other trust markers on some websites is kind of crazy, particularly if you're working in things like financial, legal, accounting, where you have to. There's a certain minimum level that you kind of need to be at, because it takes a lot of people to take action, and people will not take action if they don't believe that you can help them. And that all comes down to claims, all comes down to the quality of the testimonials and everything that you put on there. A really simple fix for this, and I say it's really simple because it's simple to add those testimonials and case studies, but it may be not so easy to actually get them in the first place. So one thing to do would be to try and work testimonials and getting case studies into part of your business process, so that when you work with customers, you have the opportunity to, when you've finished a job or when you've sold them something, they're very happy to follow up with testimonials or case studies afterwards. It really is, the more proof the better. There is no such thing as too much proof. There is such a thing as like proof blindness, of course, and so throwing lots of different say social proof, like lots of different captions from Facebook and things like that, all on one place, can kind of lead to a bit of blindness around that. So you still need to curate it. You still need to curate the testimonials you have, and really important to have testimonials that clearly match the things that you're talking about. That there's relevancy, and specificity is really important in good testimonials as well. And using testimonials in the right place. So if you have testimonials and you have a service page for some reason, make sure that you have one or two testimonials on there that relate specifically to that service, or relate to some kind of objection that someone may have around that service, so the testimonial itself overcomes the objection. Using testimonials in the right way is a really brilliant way of overcoming potential objections, all those kind of things that people have. And so one really good idea is to maybe write out different objections that people have to working with you, or to buying the kind of product you have, or using the kind of product, and then see if you can match certain testimonials that you've got to those objections, and then you can highlight what's in those testimonials in order to overcome those objections in a really nice, elegant way, where someone else has overcome the objection rather than you having to overcome the objection, if that makes sense. That's the power of testimonials. Gives them context for themselves again. Proof is a hard one. It's a real hard one. This one, though, is much easier to deal with. So lack of connection. So feeling something is the same is a big issue online. You can go to a website and you can look at it, and you could do a simple search term for something, and look at the top 5 websites, and they will generally look the same. There won't be a huge amount of difference between the kind of things they say, the language they use. And the issue with that is that it doesn't build connection, and it doesn't build rapport, and it doesn't feel like you are necessarily talking to a human. It feels like you're talking to a brand, and you're talking to someone in a brand voice, and it feels kind of emotionless. And it's something that is one of the kind of the huge problems that we have, particularly in certain types of industries: financial, legal, accounting. Those are the ones that I kind of always talk about. And so the way to judge whether your website is the same is to do something called the logo test. And all you do is you go to you look at your website, and you put your hand over the logo, and then you read it, and you think, if the logo wasn't there, would someone know that this was my business? Would someone know that this is any different from anything else? If I put a competitor's logo there, would this all still make sense? Would this all still read well? And when you've done that, you kind of realize, wow, like actually I do sound very, very similar to everyone else, or there's not a huge amount of differentiation in the language I'm using, in the way that I'm explaining things, in the personality or the voice I'm showing. And so when there is that lack of if you notice that lack of differentiation, your readers notice it as well, and they feel it on a kind of a subconscious level, and so if they don't feel that there is something different, they don't feel any kind of connection, they'll feel disengaged, they certainly won't connect, and they certainly won't reach out to you and want to inquire or anything else. So how do you do that? How do you build that connection? Because that's a difficult thing to do, when you're not with someone there. On a one-to-one sales call, for example, or a conversation, you can have a bit of a conversation, you can respond to them. It feels a little bit more like a back and forth. Key thing is, that's how you fix this. You bring that into your copy, you bring that into your website copy, you bring out the personality. So bring out your tone of voice in the copy. If you are funny, if you are smart, and everyone thinks they're funny and smart, and you want to do that, then make sure that you make sure that that's just reflected. Make sure that it kind of sounds like you. What should happen is that, if you, for example, if you have a personal brand, if this is your personal brand and you've got a personal brand website, when someone hears you talk and they go to your website, it's almost an extension. They're reading that in your voice. It's an extension of how they hear you. Brands do that. Certain brands do this very well. They sound great in lots of different circumstances, and they kind of really specific voice. Don't be afraid to be conversational. Don't be afraid to be humorous if it works in your sector. Don't be afraid to call things out, to use language that other people aren't using necessarily. The important thing is to use the language of your reader as well. If your reader, that you're more likely to feel like you're having a conversation with someone if someone sounds like you. And there is a kind of a quality there in the conversation. If they're using the same language, and this, again, this is kind of key sales technique, you mirroring language and, using the same kind of language. And that means like getting rid of things like jargon, getting rid of, technicalities, getting rid of things that, just not how they would describe it. And so that would be something that I would focus on. And this is quite an easy thing to do. You can you don't necessarily have to roll this out across your website. You can do this in sections. You can maybe bring a bit of personality first to your about section, seeing as that, or bring a bit of personality to maybe your social media channels and see how that works first. But certainly bringing personality, bringing a voice and a distinctive voice can do so much. It can on its own. In a lot of sectors, it can singularly differentiate you from all of your competitors just by sounding different, just by sounding more connected to your audience. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. I just want to give an example here, okay, of us, Hello Genius. Yeah, we don't worry too much about what we say. So, we've got we're very, very happy to use language that probably isn't appreciated in other places, but then our ideal customers and ideal clients, don't have an issue with it and probably use that language themselves. So again, it's we have a zero tolerance policy on being a douchebag, which is actually true. Which is quite unusual, I think, in marketing circles. But the point is that don't be afraid to use your personality. Don't be afraid to really show up. Okay, so we're getting towards the end now, and so the point 9 is too much doubt. So when someone is looking through a website, when they're they say, if they don't know what they need to do next, or they don't take an action, it's because they have doubt. People are paralyzed when they don't know what to do, when there's no clarity around it. And that doubt isn't just about what it is that they need to do next. It might be inquire or press a button or book a call. It's also what happens afterwards, because they're always thinking about what happens afterwards. So fine, you're asking me to click on this and it'll book a call, but what happens then? I don't know what happens then. And if I have that uncertainty in my mind, I am less likely to take action. So what your job is on your website is to make sure that you remove that doubt. And this normally comes about because you haven't thought about what the customer journey is, what the customer journey is on the website, how they interact with the website, where they go next, what they do next, how they find the thing that they're looking for. And so kind of thinking about that is one of the things that helps understand where they are, where the reader is at different stages, and what you need to do to get them to the next stage. And the way that you do this, and actually, this is one of those ones where it's a real multiplier. That if you figure out how to do this on your website by just making it clear about what happened, it'll immediately unlock more sales and more leads and more inquiries, because it's probably where the pinch points are now. If you're getting a lot of traffic to your website and people are quite, this could actually be it. So how do you do that? You just explain what's next. You explain what it is they will experience, and this may be, this isn't necessarily, if you book a call with us, a member of our team will get back to you. That's not enough. That's not enough. Exactly what will they get back? When will they get back? Who will this person be? You don't have to give specific names, but who will this person be? What will we talk about? How long will it take? It's almost like you have to kind of sell the action. Selling the action, selling the next action is quite important, and you do that by reducing doubt, giving them some benefits, showing them what happens when we book a call. So when you click on this, it'll go to one of member of my team. The member of the team will then find someone who is the most appropriate for your situation. We'll read a little bit about the answers that you've given, if there's some kind of questionnaire or something. Then I'll call you to book a call. We'll sit on that call for 45 minutes. I'll walk through these different things. At the end of it, you'll be able to take this away. It's completely no obligation, and you can either go and use that, or if you feel like you need some help, we can do that. Just going through that process and explaining what happens. It may feel like it's a little bit over the top and a little bit condescending, but it does so much to reduce friction. If someone knows, all right, if I press this button, does that mean there's going to be a 15-minute call? Does that mean that they're going to call me, on my mobile, like 10 times for the, in the next 24 hours, hassling me because they think I'm a lead? This is what you want to do. You want to make sure that you explain what happens, remove that fear, remove that doubt, remove those worries. You can also support this with imagery. And something simple as having pictures of if you have a call center, or if there's someone specific who you're going to speak to and things like that, having pictures of that person. You see that awful picture that they have of them holding a phone and stuff like that, but on its own that helps to reduce an element of friction, because you think, okay, I know who I'm speaking to, and it's a tiny thing. It feels such a tiny thing. Oh, I know who I'm going to speak to when I pick up this phone, or when I ask for a phone call. But it's a big driver for whether someone does something or not. A lot of the Silicon Valley SaaS businesses, they know that if they want to get people onto demos or onto trials, they need to, reduce all of this worry and doubt as much as possible. So as soon as you kind of book a trial or a demo, instantly someone's getting in touch with you. They'll have a video where they'll kind of say, oh yeah, really looking forward to the trial and things like that. I'm going to be the person to go through it. So you're already kind of building a relationship. They're removing all the doubt that comes from the thing that happens. Because they know that the more doubt that's removed, the more fear that's removed, the more likely you are to convert at the next stage. So if you think about that, is it really obvious? And moving on to that, so the next one, the final one, is threshold. The threshold for action on most websites is far too high. And what I might mean by that is a lot of websites have a call to action where they want people to just pick up the phone. If you want this, pick up the phone, email this. That's the kind of thing that they're asking for. And so the issue is, and it kind of goes back to people at different stages. If they're not ready at that stage, then they may not be ready to do that. Even if they are ready to buy, they may not want to pick up the phone. They may not want to email. They may want to do something else. So putting things in place that are lower threshold for action are really important. And it goes on, focus on how people purchase, not on how you want them to purchase. And that's it. It's really stepping into their shoes. Maybe they don't want to get a phone call straight away. Maybe they do want what we're offering, but what other ways can I allow them to engage? And so multiple calls to action at varying thresholds is the way to do that. Different ways of engaging with you, downloads, opt-ins, freebies. It maybe even get into go and watch videos and stuff which have additional calls to action. It just is really important that you step into the reader's shoes and think they do not always want to pick up the phone. They don't always want to go in the channels we want. I'm sure, regardless of what your business find, that people will find you the way that they want to find you. As many inquiries and leads I get through the website, just as much comes through WhatsApp, however they found that for me, Facebook Messenger, lots of different channels that I and us as an agency haven't built for them to necessarily do. I mean, I'm talking about personal channels here, but people will find their own ways of inquiring, and so give them lots of opportunities to engage with you in ways that fit with what they are doing, because that'll again reduce friction, increase the chance of you doing that. So those are the 9. And what I want to do now is just say that if you want to see a specific example of how changing website copy and implementing these things makes a real difference, I suggest going to the hellogenius.co.uk case studies and having a look there at the Social for Good case study there, because that kind of highlights this is what happens when this works really well. You can also check it out on the YouTube channel, also our Facebook channel as well. So it kind of remains to be seen, if there is any support, you do need support with any of the things, keep following all of our Hello Genius channels. Keep following my channel as well, Jody Raynsford, on Instagram, on YouTube, because we're constantly giving away information about website copy and how to improve it. If you do need help with your website copy, very happy to have a conversation with you about it. But any questions? Are there any questions at this point? Okay, cool. So I can see Ali has a question here. So let's just say we don't have our logo at the top, it's at the bottom. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's neither a good nor bad thing, Ali. The most important thing is that you are speaking to your audience in the right way from the start. That's the important thing. Let me just have a quick look at your website. And let's see what we've got here. Yeah, so I mean, what you're talking about there is actually you don't need a logo there at all, because you're doing the exact thing that we were talking about. This is hitting an emotional note. Oh, and I can see that my book's there as well. I like that a lot. Yeah, so this is hitting an emotional note, and that's the thing. And so you know that your audience are people that want to become authors, and they want to have an impact, and impact's important to them. But the thing is, I think there's a dual meaning with this, isn't it? These books change lives isn't just about changing other people's lives. This is about also changing the lives of the author as well. So it has a really nice dual meaning to it as well. And then you kind of talk about the pain there as well, which is great. If there was one thing, I would say that when you land on the site, it's not entirely clear that you are a publisher, that you help people publish books as well. This, there's a possibility someone may think this is a bookseller or something else. So I would say, if there is an opportunity to maybe add something somewhere that just helps someone, that very split second go, I'm in the right place, I would suggest adding that if possible, or very, very early on. But yeah, I think you kind of hit the right notes there. You've got good credibility of that. Yeah, so exactly. So you're doing all the right things, and I don't think it matters at all that your logo's not there at all. Your logo's not really important to them at any point, unless the only time the logo is important is if they come to your website specifically looking for you as a solution, and they don't know that and they're not sure that it's you because your logo's not there. That's the only situation I could think that being an issue. How's that? Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. Very much appreciate your time and going through this. If you've got any questions, of course, feel free to pop to any of the Hello Genius social channels. Delighted to answer any questions there. And anyone want to reach out and discuss this, Jody at Hello Genius is my email, or feel free to book a strategy session at bookmystrategy.com. Thank you very much, and keep an eye out for our next workshop presentation. Thank you.